Hello and welcome back to yet another part of our exclusive tutorial series from BlenderCookie.com on modeling the M4 assault rifle. My name is Jonathan Williamson, and in part 11 already, we're going to be focusing in on pretty much the last part of the model that hasn't been touched at all since the initial modeling stage, and that is the stock of the gun. Now, this part we're going to make heavy use of the references that Chris, the guy that contributed all the references earlier, we're going to make good use of those references. And so if we go ahead and just take a look at some of those, we can see that there's several in particular that detail the stock very well. And so this one in particular, we can see that we've got two different parts that make up the stock. We have basically the shaft that screws into the body of the gun, and then we have the actual stock piece or the shoulder piece that then can slide onto here and is tension fit via this Allen screw here. And so we can adjust this as needed. And so this will actually be pretty easy to model when we think about it. We're going to have one large piece or one large model for this whole section. And then this little piece will be another section plus the screw and our strap attachment here. And then this part will also be a model. And we'll take a little time to model the actual threads. But due to a excellent add-on that's already available in the official Blender 2.5 release, or in 2.56, since that's what we're currently working with, we'll actually be able to make that thread process a lot easier. And then we also have a little bit of work that we'll need to do on the back of the gun. If we look at this reference right here, we can see that we've got some adjustments that we want to make to this piece, along with these notches in here and so on. So hopefully we'll be able to get through all of this today. My main focus is at least going to be the stock part. We may not be able to get to this today, but we'll see how far along we get and go from there. So going over to Blender, what I first want to do is to go ahead and bring in one of those other references. This reference isn't bad. It would allow us to do a lot of the work on the stock, but these ones here, particularly this one, is really nice and detailed. It's at a good angle, or actually even better would be, say, something like this. And so we can actually see the stock really well. And so we're going to go ahead and replace our main background image with one of these. And if we just kind of look through here and find one that has the least distortion, this one actually looks pretty good. So this is M4 right. So what I'm going to do is we're going to switch over to Blender here. And then I'm just going to hit my Windows key plus the right arrow since I'm on Windows 7. And I can just cut my window in half basically. And then I'm just going to left click and drag, grab this image, and drop it on top of Blender. And that will actually drop it in as an image on the viewport. And I can go ahead and maximize my view. And what I want to do is hit in to bring up the properties panel, scroll down, or toggle down the background images section, and I can hide those. And I want to go ahead and turn this one off. And so the way that we can do that is just turn the opacity all the way down, or we could delete it, but I want to go ahead and keep it. And so we'll just turn the opacity all the way down, and that will effectively turn it off. And then what we need to do with this one is just reposition it. So let's first move it over along the x-axis. And you can see it's actually pretty close already. You will notice that some things on this one are a little different than on our model, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and scale it up, something like this, to where it fits approximately. And then we'll slide it down. And I'm adjusting this while holding down Shift to get a more accurate adjustment. And you can see that looks pretty close. Maybe we need to make it a little bit larger. Something about like that will probably be close enough. You know, we're really just working in on the stock here. And so what we can do now is with this set, let's hit in to hide the properties panel. Let's go ahead and select our stock piece. We'll hit Tab to go into edit mode, and the first thing that I want to do is go and hit Control Tab, switch over to vertex selection mode, and we're just going to use our box select with B and left click and drag across this portion. And let's just go ahead and match the reference that we're using and pull this out along the x-axis like this by hitting G and then X to slide it across. This way we can kind of see this piece in here, and we'll be able to separate those out and use our reference to make that a little bit more accurate. Now we may choose to slide that back in, but you know, that's entirely up to us, and we can adjust it as we wish. So what I want to do now is go ahead and separate out these individual pieces. So let's hit Tab to go back in edit mode. I'm going to select this whole back piece, and I'm going to hit P and separate by selection. And then I will also go in here, and I'm going to increase the opacity on my image. Let's just take it up to say 0.8 will be about right so that we can really see this. And looking at my other references at the same time, I've got them on my other monitor, but you can also just jump over here. And the ones that I'm looking at are this one, this one, this one, and I believe this one as well. And so I've got all of these loaded up in my other on my other monitor, so I can look at them while modeling, but just know that those are the ones that I'm referencing if you want to follow along. And I noticed that this loop that I have in here is not actually accurate. This is actually just going to be a straight piece extending out through here. So what I want to go ahead and do is let's select both of these pieces, and we're going to hit Control Shift Tab, switch over to Vertex Snap, and then I'm going to hit S and Shift X to exclude the X-axis from our scale. Hold down Control to snap, and snap right to there. And what that effectively does is basically the same as deleting an edge loop, but if I were to just delete this edge loop right here, by selecting it, hitting X and delete edge loop, then this one is going to be scaled down incorrectly. And so, at this point, I could go ahead and select this, hit S, Shift X, snap to there, and it would be correct, but why not do it just all in one step and select both of them, S, Shift X, snap to there, and then select everything, W, remove doubles. And there we go. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and I can select this edge loop as well. I'm going to hit X, delete edge loop, because we don't need it right now, since we're just kind of separating things out. I'm going to go ahead and select this, and then I'll select this, and I want to hit P and separate by selection again. And let's go ahead and let's name these. So if we, in our panel here, underneath the item one, we'll just move that up to the top. We can go ahead and name this as stock underscore, we'll just call it base. And then on this one, we'll name it as stock underscore shoulder piece. I'm sure that there's an actual name for these, but I'm just going to name them as I see fit, as I've never even held one of these. I have no idea even how to work with it or anything like that. I'm sure that I could figure out how to pull the trigger, but that's beside the point. So we have our individual pieces here, and we might as well go ahead and name this one as stock underscore. Let's just name this as, actually, we'll name this as base, this as stock underscore. How about slide? There we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the easy part, which is this one here. And I know some of you may be thinking, well, that's not the easy part because we've got all the threads in it. But in fact, actually, it is quite easy, because what we're going to do, let's first go into edit mode. Let's select this, and I want to recenter my origin point to right here by hitting Shift S, cursor to selection, hit Tab to leave edit mode, and then Control Alt. No, actually, I don't even need to do that. All I need to do is going to go ahead and go to my user preferences, because we're going to be using that add-on that I mentioned, which is the Bolts Factory add-on, to enable us to do these threads really easily. So let's go to File, User Preferences, and underneath the add-ons, it's in the Add Mesh category for Bolt Factory. And we'll just choose that. And if you toggle it down, you can see that it's located, well, it's just in Add Mesh. And so if we now hit, let's hit Tab to go into edit mode, and we're going to hit Shift A, Add Bolt, and, oh, maybe you can't do that in edit mode. Okay, we'll Shift A, Add Mesh, Bolt. There we go. Okay, so you just have to add it as a new object, or else you'll get the error that I just got there. And what we want to do now is, before doing anything, we want to go ahead and hit F6, and we can adjust our settings here. So what I want to do is try and match this as best I can to these threads. So ignoring the head type, because we don't care about that, we're going to go ahead and just hit F6, and we can leave all these settings the same. If you wanted, you could adjust these to a cap, dome, pan, countersink, whatever you want to do. Maybe this time, just to make it easier to delete, I'll select the countersink. You can change the bit type, preset, model as a bolt or a nut. In this case, we want the bolt because we want the threads. And what I want to adjust are we can adjust the shank length. Well, if we increase that, that'll just make it easier to edit by being able to easily delete the top. So that's actually a good thing. We've got the flat distance here, which I believe... yeah, there we go. So that's modifying that shape in there. And so we want to just go ahead and undo that. In fact, I'm just going to delete this, add in a new bolt. There we go. Then we can hit F6. And main thing I want to adjust are the thread length. We can take this down a bit. And this is actually running really slow. Real quick, I'm just going to go over to my scene properties and turn on simplify. Or actually, first I'll take this all the way down to 0 and then simplify, which will just turn down all subsurf levels to 0 so that I can modify this easier. And so now you should notice that it'll work a little bit quicker. And so we've got our thread length. Let's turn the shank length up a little bit. Again, that's just going to be easier so we can remove the head. Let's go ahead and turn up the major pitch to something like that. Or let's just go ahead and set this to say 5. Then the minor length, we can also set to 5 for now, but then let's take it down just a little bit. The threads on this are not very deep. Maybe something about like that will be good. We can adjust the pitch if we want. And in this case, I think we want the pitch to be, pretty small. Maybe something like, how about 0.3? I think that'll be about right. Then let's see, we've got the crest percentage is the shape of the threads right here. And in this case, we actually want to keep that at 0 because this is really sharp. Same thing with the root percentage. You can increase the distance between the base of the threads. Again, we want that to be just 1. And I think that will pretty much do it. We can change the thread length to add more threads. And in this case, I think we're going to leave it pretty much like that. And if we were to then rotate this down, we hit Control-Shift-Tab, switch to increment, rotate this around, and then we can scale it down something like this. And if we were to move it in, you could see how long it is. And, even though that might be a little bit too long, it's okay if it's a little bit long, because we can just kind of sink that into the gun for now and just forget about it. So then let's scale it down to fit somewhere about in there. And what I want to do is I want to select this. We're going to go ahead and actually just select this and hit Shift-S and selection to cursor. And then we'll bring it in along the X-axis to about right there. And then we could go ahead, maybe scale it down a little bit more, something like that, to roughly fit this size right here. Okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to hit Tab to go into edit mode. Let's select this whole mesh, and we'll hit X, delete vertices. And then I want to select this outside loop. Actually, let's just hit Control-Tab, go into face mode. Let's select this loop here, since it's easier to select than the perimeter edge loop there. And we're just going to hit E to extrude, take it out all the way through here. And I'm going to hit Control-Tab, go into vertex mode, select these vertices here, and these vertices here by Shift-Alt right-clicking on them, hit X, and delete vertices. Now I can go ahead and I'm just going to select these two objects and Shift right-click on here and hit Control-J such that my names are correct. Then I'll just go into edit mode, select our old mesh, hit X, and delete vertices. So now we've got that nicely threaded base with a much easier work process than if we were to do that manually. Now, obviously, this is pretty high resolution. And I suppose, let's see if we go in here to the bolt. I don't know that we can actually turn that. Yeah, we actually can't turn that down, but that's okay because we don't really care. Although it would be nice if we could turn the resolution down a little bit, but that's all right because it'll just be on this one piece. So we now want to go ahead and extrude this piece from it. So I'm going to add in a new edge loop to right here by hitting Control-R. We could also, go ahead and extend this along the X-axis a bit more to about right here. And then I want to go in here and select the bottom vertices. Let's just hit Control-7, which will go to bottom view. And we can select these two and maybe these two. So I'm Shift-Alt right-clicking on these And then I'll hit B and middle click and drag across these to deselect them. And forgot one loop right in there. There we go. So we've got our center loop plus 2 on each side. And that looks to be about the right width, although it might be a little bit, let's see, that might be a little bit too much. Let's go ahead and deselect those two, and it'll be just this one portion, because this thing doesn't actually look to be very wide. Or, no, actually that looks about right. We can maybe scale it down a little bit if need be. So let's hit E to extrude. We're going to take it down just a bit, and then we will go ahead and hit S and Y, scale it in just a little to ease the transition. And then we'll hit E to extrude again, take it down to the base here, left click, and then let's go ahead and grab these corners. So just select those, move them across the x-axis about like that, and then we can select these ones as well and move these down. I can just move that over a little bit to fit the reference there. Over here, we can just go ahead and leave it at a straight angle like so, and that pretty much finishes off that section. We might want to go ahead, let's actually select this bottom part, and I'm just going to scale it along the y-axis just a little bit. As it looks like on the reference, it does scale down a bit. And then we can also go ahead and hit S and Z, flatten this out just a bit, something like that. And then let's go ahead and we'll add in a subsurf modifier to this. I know that this part will be fairly high res just because of all the threads, but we do still want a subsurf modifier so we can smooth everything out and make it look really good. So let's first go ahead and set the shading to smooth, and then we can go in here and add in our subsurf modifier. But in this case, we'll only keep this one at level 1. We'll never go any higher than that, or it'd just be extreme. We can go and turn on our optimal display, and then I want to go into edit mode and hit Control R, add in an edge loop right across through to here, sharpen that up, and then we'll also add another one down like this to make that nice and sharp. And also, let's add in another one. Whoops. Here we go. We'll add another one in on this side so that we can clear up this portion like that. Make that nice and smooth. And then actually, if we look at this, there's also a seam right here. You can't see it very well in this image, but if we go over to one of our other references, say to this one, you can actually see this slight seam here, and then coming up from here is a slight edge. And so let's go ahead and detail that. So I'm first going to put in a new edge loop right about there, and then let's select this whole area. And a quick way to do this is we're just going to hit E to extrude, right click, S and Shift X. That will scale all of this up, but it'll only have extruded from this area right in here and an edge loop right back in here, which we kind of want anyway, so we'll just scale this down something like that. We can add in another edge loop to strengthen that up, and another one across like that. Okay, and so then adding that in, we can also add in an edge loop right up to it like this, and another one on this side. You could use creases here if you wanted, but since we've got a long stretch, the crease isn't going to get a very good result. You could combine them if you wanted, maybe by creasing this one, say hit Shift E and 0.8 or so to crease that a little bit more, get a little better effect. You also notice that we do have a slight artifact right in here, and I believe that has to do with, yeah, it's because of the triangles here where the thread is merging. So we can fix that by adding in an edge loop, bringing it right up to that edge. So we're just isolating that artifact a bit to smooth it out. We could also go in and select, say, this vertex, move it down just a little bit, select these faces, or actually, I guess, let's go ahead and maybe select these two. We'll hit W, merge at center, and then let's also select these and this, and we'll hit F to fill in a face there, and that helps to kind of isolate the problem a bit. See, we maybe need to go ahead and pull this in. Let's just snap it. Control Shift Tab, switch vertex snap. We'll snap right over there, excluding the x-axis. So I'll hit G, Shift X, snap to there, so that we're removing that little line that we saw right in here, which you can still see it's there just a little bit, but there's not a lot that we can do about that. And it's such a minor thing that, you know, you're really, unless you're super close, you're not even going to see it. Okay. And then this edge here actually has a angle on it. So let's select this. Let's pull this back, something like that. And then we'll go ahead. Let's crease this loop. So we'll hit Shift E. And again, I'm going to put that at 0.8. Or actually, let's go ahead and just go all the way to 1 on both of these. There we go. And then let's add in, let's slide this loop over a little bit. And that actually looks pretty good. I want to add in another loop right here. You'll notice that we're getting some just kind of artifacts in here. It doesn't look real sharp. So I'll just add in a loop here, which will smooth that up a bit. And I might go ahead and add in another loop across through about to there, which will also help smooth that out a lot and look a lot better. So there we go. That's that portion. Let's go ahead and save our file. And I want to, first I'm just going to hide the camera, get it out of here. Let's go ahead and work on this part now. So let's first hit tab to go into edit mode. And I want to just start smoothing some things out. So first let's go ahead and grab this bottom section here, or this top piece. And let's maybe, okay, we're going to hide this. Just select it, hit H and hide it. Let's go ahead and select these. We're going to pull them down to about right here. Then we'll hit Alt H to unhide everything, because we want to actually go ahead and merge these together. And so right now, this piece here is far too skinny. So I want to go ahead and deselect. We go hit 3 to go to side view. We're going to deselect everything but these center vertices. So we'll deselect all these. And then we're going to hit S and Y and scale them up. And they actually need to be about the same width as this piece here. So let's hit S, Y, scale them up to right about there. And then I also want to go ahead and hit Control R, add in a center loop on each one of these. And then we're going to delete 1/2. So let's now just select everything across the center line and hit X, delete vertices. And then we'll add in a mirror modifier so that we can save ourselves some work. And we'll mirror it across the Y-axis. Now in this case, I actually need to hit Control Z a few times. Oh, actually, no, I don't. The problem, or yes, I do. I forgot to add in a loop here and then a loop there. Okay, select everything across the center line. Deselect these that I accidentally selected. Then I'll hit X, delete the vertices. And there we go. Now we'll have a mirrored object so that we don't have to do quite so much work. And what I want to do is let's first select these ones. We're going to go ahead and hide this one more time. Let's take these. We're going to take them down just a little bit. Then we'll hit Alt H. And what I want to do is go ahead and merge these together. And so on this, let's select these vertices and all of these down here like that and like that. And we're going to hit Control Shift Tab, make sure we're on vertex snap. We're going to hit G, Y, snap to right there. Then I'm going to go ahead and add in another loop right across here, which will snap across the X-axis to right there. Because then we can go in, select all these vertices. We're going to hit G, Z, snap up to there. Add in 2 more loops, which will snap across the X-axis there and there. And then 1 more right here. And then we can select everything, W, remove doubles. We'll go in here, select these with B, and then box select. Deselect these, again with our box select, but using our middle mouse and drag. And then we can hit X and delete faces to remove those inner vertices that were causing problems. Okay, so that adds in that portion to join them together. We can then go ahead and say bring this loop all the way over to where it starts right in here. And then we can just add in, say, 2 edge loops to smooth this up, which will also help us get this rounded portion on here. We'll grab these, pull them over along the X-axis, grab these as well, pull them over some more. That rounds that out. And then this edge here actually goes all the way up through here. So what I want to do is just select these vertices right in here. And we're going to hit E to, or I guess we need to do all of these actually, and we're going to hit E to extrude, hit X to go along the X-axis, pull them over about the same width as this in here, and we'll deselect these, pull these back over along the X-axis, select everything, W, and remove doubles, so that it just merges back with those. Then what I want to do is to go ahead, and you'll also notice that there is a, if we switch over to this piece here, you can see that this actually merges all the way in here. And so we want to continue this edge up through there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these. I'm going to hit E to extrude, take that down. Then I'll select these vertices, and I'm going to attempt to rip it apart. There we go. So I move my mouse over here, and then hit V and rip it like that, to which then I'm going to just snap to those vertices, select everything, W, remove doubles. I can then move these ones down a little, these ones down a little, just kind of averaging out that result. Oh, and actually I suppose I shouldn't have ripped those quite like that, because sometimes ripping can be a bit of a pain. Move these over. There we go. I need to snap that, select everything, remove doubles. We've got this interior vertex here, delete that, because then I actually want to just fill in faces right here and here. Then I can move this up, fit the angle. And then what I'll do is just go ahead and select all of these, hit E to extrude, Y, snap right to there, select everything, W, remove doubles, remove this interior face. So I'll just select it, hit X, and delete faces. And that brings that up in there. And then this actually ought to merge nicely in here, which I will go ahead and do by adding in a new loop cut here. And then I'm just going to hit G, Z, snap to there. And actually, I'm first going to deselect this vertex, and then I will snap to there. Select everything, W, remove doubles, and then I'm going to select this loop, and I'm going to pull it up along the Y-axis. Let's see. What is a good way to do that? Actually, I think that'll work out okay. But I do want to go ahead and first I have an interior vertex. Select that. And then I think that if I select this, rip that down, and in fact, select this whole edge, yeah, we're going to go ahead and rip all of that down like so. Actually, I'm not even going to worry about it. Instead, I think what I'll do is just go ahead and add in another edge loop across through here. Let's go and add in a subsurf modifier, and this will give us a better idea of how this is looking in here. Select everything, W, and shade smooth, Control N just in case. Let's go ahead and select this piece, and we're just going to hide it for the time being. And you can see that looks pretty good, but I do actually, yeah, I want to go ahead and rip this away. So I'm going to select these pieces and hit V. Oh, I suppose I can't do that. Okay, we'll select this. V, rip that down. Move it down just a little bit. Then we'll select, say, these three. I can't do that. Select this one. Rip it. There we go. Snap to there. And then select this whole edge. V to rip it. And then snap it to there. I've got this vertex in here that doesn't need to be there, so rip that. Snap up to there. And then I just need to clean up these ones back here. So I'll rip that. Select the appropriate vertices. Snap down along the z-axis to there. And then do the same thing with these ones here. So I'll rip that. Snap down along the z-axis to there. Select everything. W, remove doubles. Then I can select this entire loop all the way across. Hit E to extrude. Snap up along the z-axis to there. Select everything, W, and remove doubles. There we go. So that'll give me a much cleaner result right in there. And so then what I can do is I want to go ahead and add in a nice edge loop all the way along here. I'll first slide it up to the top. Then I'll deselect these ones. And I want to slide these up, so hit Control E and edge slide. And then I'll do the same thing on the bottom. Slide these all the way down to about there. Deselect these ones. Then I'll hit Control E and slide those up to give me a nice even result. I also want to go ahead and add in an edge loop to right here. And then I will pull that up about like so. I can go ahead and pull these down just a bit. And then I want to add in a loop on each side of this, where that's really, where it takes a different angle there. And then from what I can tell, this actually ought to go up to right here. So let's go ahead and remove this edge loop, and then we'll add in a loop right to there and a loop right to here. But we'll select this one, S, X, and 0, and then we can slide that over like that. There we go. So now those are more solid. We then need to add in a loop up to here and across to here so that that's nice and sharp. And then I want to go in and round these out. So if we switch to, let's go ahead and in object mode, select this, hit Shift H. Then from the side view, we can go in here, grab these vertices, pull them out along the y-axis. We can go ahead and add in another. Let's go ahead and, we'll just add in one more edge loop across there. Then we can deselect, or actually no. Instead, we're just going to select these. We're going to pull them down along the z-axis, which will really help to round that out. And then let's go ahead, and I want to attach all this in here. So quick way to do this is we're just going to select, say, these two vertices, and actually, let's see. We want all of these here. These need to extend up anyway. So let's just select them, hit E to extrude, right click S and Shift X. Scale it up about to where they should be, somewhere in there. And then we're going to select these vertices. We're going to pull them along the y-axis to snap to right there. And then we're going to extrude it and snap to there. Select everything, W, and remove doubles. And then we're going to go in here, delete all of these interior faces. Just like that, hit X and delete faces. Oops, although I deleted some of the ones I didn't want to. Remove those. And then we can see that we need to add in a, let's see, that connects to there. That's not what I want. We're first going to go ahead and fill in that face. Now let's see. The issue that I've got is this vertex right here needs to fill in right here, but if we add in a loop, then you'll notice that it goes both directions. And so need to find a good way to clear that out. And sometimes when you're working with this, sometimes it's easier to clear it out if you enable the modifier cage during edit mode, just so you can more clearly see your topology. In this case, actually, we want another edge loop going along here, but we want to scale it along the y-axis to 0. And you'll notice right now it doesn't look like this, but that's just because the modifier cage is applied. And we can then just bring this in along the y-axis like that. And now we still have this problem right in here, but we could go ahead and select this loop. And we're just going to pull it up slightly along the z-axis, probably like it should anyway. And then what that allows us to do is to go and add in a loop right here and fill in a face like that. Then we can also fill in that face. That merges those. Then we just need to fill these in here. So we'll first extrude these. We're going to extrude up along the z-axis to there, and again to there. And then we need to add in one more loop along the z-axis to there. Select these, fill them in. Select these and these. And we'll ignore the rest of that for the time being. Instead, I want to go to side view and we're going to round these out. So just pulling these out along the y-axis. Scale those to 0 and then just rotate them. Just a matter of tweaking it until you get just what you want. Starts to look pretty good. Now we need to go ahead and add in a edge loop right up to here. About like that. And right now this doesn't look to be quite wide enough, so we're going to slide this out along the x-axis about like that. And then we've got a angle right in here that we need to fix. So let's add in a loop to right there just for the time being. I'm going to also select this. I'm going to actually select these two vertices, Shift S, cursor to selected. Select these, hit period, and scale down towards those. And then if we look at this, we actually have a fair bit more work to do because we've got to go ahead and actually pull from here to here. We can hit W and select vertex path. We actually need to pull this out along the y-axis because you'll notice right in here we actually have this ridge. So let's go ahead and we've got to add in this topology right in here, which is actually going to be a little bit difficult, but I'm going to do this by, let's see. Think about this for a second. Okay, I think what we want to do is first off, this piece is actually coming out too far. It really ought to only go to about here. So let's select this whole thing. We're going to slide it back along the x-axis to about here. And we'll deselect this one. We're going to slide these back to, actually, we want to just slide these back out to about here. And then we can take this back a little bit more to better match that angle. And then you can see that this piece here will come down through right here. So what I want to do is do a little bit more topology work. And I want to, well, this actually, you can see needs to come back to about here. So that's still not close enough. So let's take this all the way back about to there, deselect these, pull that back in a little bit, and then this will allow us to add in a loop right here, which is where this piece will then start. I'm going to slide this along the x-axis right there just so it's nice and straight. Then these, I'm going to go ahead and take that up to there, and then that up to there so that they're nice and even. And then I will go ahead, and this is not an easy piece of topology to do because we actually need to basically add in a loop through here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Shift A, add in a circle. On the circle, it's going to hit F6. We're going to align it to view. Let's set the vertex count to 16. Let's then go in, disable our clipping. We're going to scale this down until it fits approximately right in like this, somewhere in here, such that I've got one vertex at the top, one vertex at the bottom, something like this. Maybe we'll scale this down just a little bit in here. Okay, and then I'm going to deselect everything but these vertices, hit X and delete. I'm going to select this, hit P, separate by selection. I'm going to go ahead and now I'm going to add in a shrink wrap modifier, but we want to position it above our previous two modifiers. And we're going to shrink it to the stock shoulder piece like this, but rather than going to the nearest surface point, we're going to project along the y-axis like this, and you can see that that now fits perfectly in here. So we can now just click apply, and we'll have that mesh perfectly snapped to the surface. Now currently it's going the wrong way, so let's go ahead and just in object mode we're going to hit S, Y, and hit comma first, S, Y, and -1. We'll flip that around, and then we can go ahead and select the two and hit Control J to join them as one object. So now what I'm able to do is, using this topology as a starting point, I can first just add in a loop right up to here. We'll maybe snap it along the z-axis to that vertex. We can then pull it out a little bit along the y-axis. And then we're going to hit Control-Shift-Tab to edge mode. Snap this vertex along the y-axis to that edge. Make sure it fits perfectly. We can go ahead and snap this one to this edge, but excluding the x-axis, like that. We'll snap this one to that vertex, or to that edge, and then we'll snap this one to that edge to get them a little bit closer to where they need to be. I'm also going to go ahead and select this vertex, and then this one, hit W and merge at last, such that we've got just one loop through here. Then what I want to do is go ahead and we're going to first delete this edge, then we'll also delete this edge and this edge. And then we're first just going to fill an edge there. We also need to delete this edge, which will fill in right there. We're going to add in another edge loop right here, which will slide along the x-axis to snap to that vertex. So it's Control-Shift-Tab to switch between your snapping types. Then we can fill in a face like this. We're going to add in another edge loop through here, which then I can fill in that. And then I'm going to fill in a face like this and like this. So you'll notice that I'm keeping the face loop flowing along that curve the entire way. I can go ahead and then just we'll just hit W and subdivide. Then I'm going to grab this vertex, and using a little technique to kind of do a vertex slide, since there's no good way by default in Blender to slide this along here, I can hit Control-Shift-Tab, switch to Edge Snap, and hit G and snap. Well, I guess I can't snap to its one edge. Okay, instead, what I'll do is just select this vertex, hit Shift-S, cursor to selected. We'll select this one, hit period to scale towards the cursor, and then scale it up. And then I can go ahead and select this vertex, hit V to rip it apart, and then select the right one, hit X, delete vertices, select all these, hit F, fill a face. We'll add in another edge loop through to here. We'll fill that, and we'll fill that, and then we can fill that one there. And so now, it looks like we still have the exact same mesh, but we now have this topology in here. We can add another edge loop here, snap that across to the vertex, like that, to then fill in this face, and we can fill this and this. You can see we need to slide this along. We can add another edge loop over to here, add in that face, another edge loop, snap to there. Alt right click to select those loops to get a little shortcut for the selecting it all. Hit F, and then alt right click again, hit F, and there we are. Now you'll see a little bit of distortion right in here, but we don't care about that just yet. We could go ahead and maybe select this and hit W and smooth a little, which will fix some of that problem. But before we worry about that, what we want to do is to go ahead and select all of these vertices right to here and up to here. So we're going to select all of this all the way back. And we're going to go all the way back to the stock right here. And then we're going to hit E to extrude. Immediately we're going to right click and then deselect this vertex. And then we're going to pull these down along the Z axis to about right there. Let's see. And we hit 3 to go into side view. Let's think about this just a little bit. I think that's going to be pretty close. And then we just need to make this into a more perfect circle. So let's go in and let's go ahead and select this, and we're going to hit Control Alt Shift S, which is, or I guess it's Alt Shift S is to sphere. And if we just hit, well, let's first make sure that this is all the way along the x-axis. Alt Shift S 1. Okay, that's actually not working very well. That's okay. What we're going to do is let's select these two vertices, hit Shift S, cursor to selected, and what we want to do is make this into a perfect circle such that then we can smooth these out to also fit that perfect circle. So I'm going to actually, let's go into object mode. We're going to hit Alt H, select this, and we're going to use our shrink wrap, or no, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and select, okay, I stand corrected. I want to select this. I'm going to hit Shift H to hide everything else. With our cursor center right here, I'm going to hit in object mode, Shift A, add mesh, and circle. The circle, let's hit F6. Go ahead and align it to view. Let's take the size down to approximately fit. Something about like that. And then we'll hit F6. Let's change the vertex count to probably 18. And then hit Tab to go in edit mode. We can scale down a little bit more to fit about right there. And then we're going to go ahead and select this. We're going to apply our mirror modifier temporarily. And then we're going to select these two, hit Control J to join them. And on this mesh, I'm going to go ahead and extrude out to right here. If I can get this to snap correctly. There we are. And I'm going to use this as a base. So with this select, I'm going to go ahead and hide this. Let's select all these vertices and all of these vertices. I'm going to hit X, delete, and then Alt H. And I'm going to now start just connecting all of these together. So first, let's go in, let's select this edge loop. And this edge loop, we'll slide it up along the Z-axis to there. I'm going to select this one. I'm going to hit X, delete the edge loop. Take this one, I'm going to hit Control E, slide up to right about here, and then we'll go ahead and snap it, excluding the X-axis to there. We'll add in another edge loop back to here, which then we will snap again, excluding the x-axis, to right there. And basically what this is doing is perfectly replicating our circle in here where we didn't have it. So then do the same thing there, of course, excluding the x-axis and to there. Okay. And then I'm going to grab, say, this vertex and this vertex. Actually, before we do this, let's go ahead and we're going to select this. We're going to hit H to hide it. And I want to go ahead, if I merge, I want to reconfigure this loop a little bit to continue on up. So we're going to select this loop. We're going to hit V, rip it apart. And then we're going to move it over a little bit. And what this allows us to do then is go ahead, remove this face. And then we're going to fill in a face right here. And we can select the rest of this. Go over here, deselect that. Hit E to extrude, slide it over, select everything. W, remove doubles. I'm going to go ahead and delete the right side because we don't need it. But the reason that I applied the mirror modifier is I wanted my other mesh, my circle, the base that we're working from, to be a full circle without being disrupted by the mirror modifier. Let's go ahead and we'll select this, pull it up along the z-axis there. We can take these, snap them along here. Because then what this will allow me to do is if I then add in another edge loop through to here, can then add in a new face like that. Or actually, I guess I need to go ahead and we'll slide this loop more along to the base. We can pull this back a little, and then we can fill in a face like that, such that I can add another loop, slide that over like that, and make that nice and sharp. Okay, now we did have an issue down here, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete these faces for the time being. And got something weird going on here. I'm just going to delete that vertex. So now we'll hit Alt-H, bring our circle back, and I want to grab all of these, and we're just going to snap, excluding the x-axis, to right here, and then pull it down a little bit, and snap along the z-axis to there so that that vertex is snapping, because then I can go ahead, select this loop as well, Control E, slide it along until it lines up approximately with that, excuse me. I'll deselect this, I'll snap it along the y-axis to right there, grab this vertex, snap, excluding the x to that vertex, and same thing here with this entire loop. And now if I select this, I should be able to go ahead and deselect that back circle, hit X, delete vertices, and then start filling in some of these gaps. So I'll select this one, hit F, select these. And so this may have gotten a little bit messy along the way, but in the end, we've got a nice clean, or we'll have a nice clean mesh that will work well. And then this one here, we won't worry about just yet, but these I want to snap. Well, let's see. If we look at our other references, again, that I have on the other screen, we're going to ignore this for a moment. And actually, what we ought to do is go ahead and delete these vertices, because this is actually going to continue all the way up to here. So let's first connect this loop, extrude it up, just snap to there. We'll add in another vertex here, subdivide that, then just snap to there, snap this one to along the z-axis there, then bring this one along the x or the y a little bit. We can just bring these up slightly, select everything, W, remove doubles, and then we need to add in some loops here. So we'll first just add in one, which will connect with that, and we can then just bring this down a little. We'll add in another one and another one. Those will fill that and that. Whoops. Select these, fill in those. I could go ahead and maybe slide these back along the x-axis to smooth out that curve to about right here, such that it's even like this. And then I can add in another edge loop around there to then fill in that face, keeping it as a quad. And I think what I might do is go ahead, I'm going to remove this edge loop, and I'm going to then select this one, deselect that, and snap this over to the x-axis, or actually we'll just hit X, delete the edge loop, such that fills in with a quad, leaving that as a cleaner mesh. We can slide this along the x-axis as well. Snap this across. Snap these to 0 along the x-axis and to there, just to clean up the mesh. And then we just need to fill in these holes. So I'm going to go ahead and extrude. Let's see, let's go ahead and fill this. This is where things can get a little bit more challenging. Snap that along there so it fits. We can select all these, fill in a face there, but I'd really like to see this continue as a face loop here. So I'm going to switch to side view. And you'll notice that these are a little bit distorted as far as this is concerned. So let's take them along the x, or excluding the x-axis, snap to there. Go ahead and bring these edges up to there, remove those doubles, and then keeping an eye on how this is supposed to merge together. This is all supposed to be nice and even, so these need to slide down to about here, and then these will come down. And let's just go ahead and add in a loop across to right here, which will deselect these ones and move these along the x-axis to there. Actually, let's scale to 0, and then we'll move them along like that. And then we can fill in a face right here, fill in a face right there, add another edge loop, slide it over to there along the x-axis, fill that, and then we can add in a loop to here, fill in this loop face, and then we just have to do one more loop in here to fill in this loop and this one. And that evens it up nicely, but we can go ahead and select this vertex. Well, actually, we'll select this one, Shift S, cursor to the selected. Select this one, hit period to scale towards the cursor. Scale that up. And we can do the same thing. Well, this one we can just slide along the x-axis, but let's go ahead and select this entire loop. We'll slide it along, deselect these, slide them along so that this is just even all the way throughout. And that pretty much does it. So definitely a little bit of interesting modeling. It's a little bit challenging at times, but with a little bit of finessing, we can get it worked out. And that looks pretty good if we just look at it from all different angles. Just make sure that there's not any distortion going on. We could go ahead and select this loop. Maybe we'll slide it down a little bit, which will even that surface out just a bit. Same thing here, we'll select these and then slide this along just so that this angle is better matching the surface. And then right in here, we don't need nearly quite so many loops. And so I'm just going to select these 3 vertices, hit W and merge at last. And then we can fill this in with a single quad like that, so that we can then select these, hit X, delete the edge loop, select this, deselect that vertex, X, delete the edge loop, and select those, fill in a face. We can then slide this up. We could go ahead and merge these into a single loop as well, but I'm not going to worry about it because I like to have this edge all the way along there. Okay, so we're pretty much out of time as far as modeling goes for this section, so we're going to go ahead and call it quits, take a break, and then we will come back again in part 12 to do some more modeling and to finish off the stock that we have here, which means we need to do this piece actually real quick just so that this doesn't look terrible. Let's just add an edge loop right to there, an edge loop to there, and there. We're just going to square this off real quick so it doesn't look like a lump just hanging off our model. And then we also need to first re-add or delete these vertices, or re-add our mirror modifier. Again, set it to only mirror along the y-axis, move it above the subsurface so that we don't have a seam in our model. And then we also need to select this portion here, except for the centers, and we need to snap them back to here. We might have to do this one side at a time. So we'll snap that to there, and then we'll grab these, snap them to there, and that will give us a straight mesh for this to slide along. And at one point I must have deleted this, so we'll select this loop, hit E to extrude, snap to there, select everything, W, remove doubles, add an edge loop, slide up, add another one, slide up, and there we are. Okay. Yeah, so let's just save our file, and we'll come back shortly to go ahead and finish off this section, including cutting in all these holes and doing the rest of the detail work.